Hi y'all, today we're going to be ranking all of the sidearms in PlanetSide. And I'm going to give you my opinions on all of them, and we're going to rank them in between, S and D tier, like every other tier list. And, well, we're probably just going to get right into it. Of note, this tier list does not have the NSO pistols, the Directive pistols, or the Yawara on it, so I will just manually I won't edit them in, obviously, but I'll just tell you where I think they are at the end. So, starting with the Beamer, the Vanu's default pistol. I think it's B tier. 167 is actually a fine damage tier for a pistol if you have the aim to headshot. I think it's good. I don't think it's great, and it's definitely very replaceable by a lot of stuff that just shows up later. But for what it is, it's actually a pretty decent pistol. Cerberus is a C tier. 250 damage pistols aren't very good. They require a lot of skill to use, and if you have the skill to put the 2-tap in, you have the skill to use an underboss, a commissioner, or a pilot. I don't recommend them in any situation. They're just not very good. QCX is weird because it's a utility sidearm, not a panic sidearm. So generally, I'm rating these things based on how good they are as like a general use pistol, for panic situations or if you run out of ammo in your primary, whatever. But there's a couple ones I'm gonna have to note that have specific niches that could really affect their rating. So for example, the QCX is a panic general use pistol. D tier, terrible, never bring it. But if you're trying to use the utility it brings, like the explosive bolts to damage vehicles, it has its own niche, and it's quite good at it. Still, I don't feel comfortable putting it anywhere high. I'm going to keep it in C tier, with like an apostrophe where it's good if you're going to use it for the utility it offers, but as an actual pistol, it's not really worth running. Desperado's going to get put in A tier. It's a 167 twin burst pistol. It's pretty good for what it is. It's not, like, NS Trio tier, but it's pretty good. It's probably the best NC pistol generally available, and I like it. It's fun to use, it's good to use. Rebel will go right with Cerberus. It's also a 250 damage pistol with some minor stat changes between the two. It's same problem. If you can use the Rebel, you can use one of the NS Trio much better, and they're just not very fun to use. Manticore is basically a slightly beefed up Beamer. It's also B tier. It's not really notable. There's really no reason to use it, to be fair, but it's okay for what it does. Mag Scatter, the NC shotgun pistol, is probably C tier. It's another one of those weird pistols that it's terrible as a general use pistol, but if you're working into its niche of being a shotgun pistol, it's quite decent at what it does. It's still not super good, though. I'd probably just leave it in C tier and forget about it. Mag Shot is B tier, since that's where the Manticore is. It's not a great pistol, but it's pretty okay for what it is. I'd recommend dropping it for a new pistol pretty soon, but it's fine. Underboss is S tier, without a doubt. It's got a great time to kill, it's easy to use, it's got a fast reload, it's great for panic situations, you can primary it effectively. The Underboss is exceptional. It's easily one of the best pistols in the game right now, and there's no reason not to run it. Commissioner will also join it in S tier, although I believe it is slightly weaker. So Commissioner, compared to the Underboss, hits harder, fires slower, has a longer reload. That's the only noteworthy changes between the two, in terms of stats, but it does have a longer equip speed of 0.45 compared to the standard 0.25 on pistols, and this does bring Commissioner down as it worsens it severely as a panic sidearm. It still hits really damn hard, it's 900 on a headshot, enough to drop an infiltrator in one bullet, but you need to have skill to be placing your shots effectively to make up for the equip speed penalty. It's absolutely S tier. It's just not as general use as the Underboss. Blackhand is probably B tier. It's the long Commissioner, where you can 2-headshot people at all ranges, but you have the mandatory 4x. Your hip fire is worse, you've only got 4 rounds in the chamber. It's okay for what it does, but ultimately there's very little reason to actually bring it over the Commissioner unless you're specifically investing into the niche of sniping people at long range with the sidearm. I don't think it's particularly good, and it's sitting in B tier just because it's so clunky and wonky to use that I can't really recommend it outside of, well, actually engaging in the playstyle it offers. Pilot is easy S tier, and in my opinion, the best pistol in the game right now. 167 3-round, or sorry, it's a 200 3-round burst, and it's great. You can bring people down in one burst if you know what you're doing. It's an exceptional pistol. Really good at what it does. There's no reason not to use it. It's amazing. It's great. It's genuinely one of the best pistols in the game. Emissary is a C tier. Emissary is, of course, the 577 125 auto pistol, and it's a nice backup to certain primaries, like anti-material rifles, shotguns, whatever. But it does so little damage output that unless you can specifically quad aim headshots, it's just not super great overall. So it's C tier. It's a nice utility piece, but it's not anything special. So Spiker. Spiker is pretty okay. Spiker will probably sit in B tier. It's essentially a Desperado with slightly worse overall burst to get this useless charge mode. It's... The charge mode on it is useless. There's no reason to ever use the charge mode. The charge mode does nothing. It's completely pointless. The burst mode's pretty good, but it's still kind of clunky to use, and it feels like a worse Desperado at the end of the day, which is why I'm going to put it in B tier. It's like a high B tier, don't get me wrong, but I still think it's a B tier pistol. Amp is going to be the first D tier pistol. 937 at 112 is really, really funny, don't get me wrong, but as an actual effective sidearm, it's useless. It's a fun pistol, don't get me wrong, but it is useless. There's pretty much no reason to ever bring the thing, unless you just want to fuck around with the gimmick it offers. Inquisitor is B tier. I actually really like Inquisitor, and personally I'd probably move it up to A myself, but on the whole it's probably a B tier pistol. 143 burst pistol with 30 rounds is nothing to snuff at, and if you have aim, it can be pretty good, and the huge ammo reserve makes it a lot of fun to use as well. Ultimately, it suffers from the same problem of not being in the Annis trio, which is it just doesn't quite put out damage quick enough. Still fun, don't get me wrong, but it's still limited on damage output. Now, Repeater, and I realize this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but this pistol is C, bordering on D tier for me. Like, it would be, like, probably high D. Maybe C. I'm going to put it in C because I know that's closer to popular opinion, but I really hate this thing. For starters, it's a 125 at 845 burst pistol. The problem is, it loses accuracy so quick that you can't effectively spam it, which limits your time to kill, and with low individual damage per bullet, if you only have time to get a bullet or two off, you're not doing a whole lot of damage compared to the Pilot, where you get 200 or 400 off if you get 2 bullets off. Whereas with this thing, you get like 250 if you get 2 bullets off. Sure, they come out much faster, but you lose accuracy if you try and spam it. The visual recoil has always been weird to me. It's just, I don't like it. I don't think it's a very good pistol at all. I think it's the worst starter pistol in the game for what it's worth. I would heavily advise dropping it. And I realize it's not a popular opinion, but this is my tier list. Emperor is a B tier, 167 model pistol. It's basically the same as the Beamer at the end of the day. It's good, but it's pretty forgettable, all things concerned. Let's see, we gotta look through this now for the next unique pistol. Derringer is B tier? It's a gimmicky underboss. I don't think it's worth 4K A7. I wouldn't invest into it super early, that's for sure. But it's pretty good at what it does. Has the neat little unique niche of being able to one-shot people within 2 meters if you get both shots on the head. But other than that, it's a bit clunky, it's a bit unreliable, so I would generally not run it. It's okay. It's okay. Showdown. Showdown is... See, Showdown is weird, because it's not actually statistically a bad pistol, there's just literally zero reason to ever run it, which makes me want to put it in D tier. It's basically a Showdown. It's basically a Showdown. Man, I am so dumb. It's basically a Blackhand with the scope removed. And this has all the penalties that you might expect, namely, you can't scope it. Other than that, it's pretty much identical to the Blackhand. The problem is, well, if you're sniping with a pistol, if you want that 2-shot headshot at all range, just bring the Blackhand, you get the scope. Not to mention the bloom on it is horrendous if you're trying to spam fire it, worse than pretty much every other pistol in the whole game. Pretty much, I think it's the worst blooming weapon in the entire game, so you can't spam it easily. I mean, it still hits for 450, don't get me wrong, but it's so clunky and underwhelming to use that I genuinely cannot recommend it. So now on to the pistols that are not imaged here on this tier list, because I'm using a publicly available tier list from PlanetSide. Thank you. So, starting off the Yawara, the Pilot Auto Pistol. It's 333 at 200, and it would be a big fat D tier. It's junk, it's not fun to use, it's not very good. There's pretty much no reason to ever use it. It's just kind of pointless. Yawara is like easy D tier, maybe C, but it's still like just bad. It's just a bad pistol. There's no reason to ever run it. NSO pistols. The U100 starter is B tier, in my opinion. Probably top of B tier. It's a 167 pistol. It's pretty nice. You get slightly larger bullet sizes on it because of the NSO pistol gimmick. So it's a bit easier to land shots with it. I think it's great. I really like it. U150 Recall, the high-capacity NSO pistol, is like C tier. It doesn't do enough damage, and you don't need a big mag on it. The Harbinger is S tier. It's a 300 damage pistol that is actually competitive with the NS Trio. It's S tier. I think it's the weakest S tier here, but it's S tier. So, moving on to the Directive pistols that, of course, I also do not have images of, so we will simply use a duplicate of the previous pistol. So you're just going to have to mentally remind yourself. So, Immortal, the heat-based beamer, is B tier. Heat doesn't really do anything on a pistol for anything, and outside of having a nice little passive reload while you're using something else, it doesn't actually offer anything for you. It's exactly the same as the beamer in effective gameplay. It's B tier. It's not really worth unlocking because you don't really get anything out of it other than it looking shiny. Executive is also going to sit in B tier right next to the mag shot. You basically get free disruptor ammo on it, but other than that, it's basically the same pistol at the end of the day. Basically, the damage model on it is weird, where it allows you to take disruptor without actually suffering a bullet to kill penalty, because it starts at 222 damage instead of 200. It's fine, but it's basically just a free disruptor ammo on your mag shot. It doesn't actually change how the mag shot plays. It doesn't really affect the performance of the mag shot in any way. It's B tier. It's also not really worth unlocking. Now, President, the automatic repeater, is also going to sit in C tier right next to the regular one. It's just the repeater, but it's automatic now. And you can put an extended mag in it to have 36 rounds. Suffers from all the same problems of the regular repeater, other than the fact that you don't have to manually burst it, of course. But you lose accuracy just as quick. Your bullets still don't do very much damage. You burn through magazines like there's no tomorrow. It's not very good. And the final pistol that I do not have an image for is the Dirac, the NSO's Directive pistol. Honestly, I think it's S tier. I will go out right now and I will say I believe it's S tier. Now, the reason for this is, it's a 167 pistol that drops to 143, meaning that you have a 3 or a 4 headshot kill in all circumstances, which is nice if you have the aim to do so. But more importantly, it is a 3.4 built-in and high velocity. It's got, I think, 550 meters a second. So not only can you poke targets at range thanks to the velocity, you get a 3.4 built into the pistol, meaning that if you can headshot, you can snipe with it. And for practical uses, it will always outperform the Blackhand because it's easier to use, because you can still put a 1 or 2 on it if you really want to, and you don't have the horrendous full-screen scope taking up your vision. But if you can aim, it's great. It's super reliable to use. It has slightly larger bullets, just like the standard NSO pistols, and the 3.4 and the high velocity, along with only losing 1 tier damage, makes it, in my opinion, an excellent pistol. If it's not S tier, it's an easy A tier. So, please try not to crucify me too much in the comments. I know there are a few repeater enjoyers that have been looking forward to this tier list and are probably going to be very angry. So, yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you all another time. Bye.